Now, of course, just as a matter of background, the African entertainment industry is on, should we say, at the brink, or is at the precipice of an explosion. For good, that is, of course. And some could call it explosion, some could say it's a transformative era, with digital platforms, with the way we now share and exchange music, content, creative stuff. All the way. I'm saying a lot of music because I have music juggernauts in front of me. All right. Maybe I should face Mr. Yinka more. And, with projections indicating that the industry could cap about $4.6 billion worth in 2000, by the time we get to 2025. So for this session, just to provide context, we would look at the current trajectory of African entertainment, music, digital platforms, content, what have you. We'll also look at talent management, as well as how to address barriers to investment and growth within the sector to ensure that you don't remain small. And then, of course, sustainable monetization. You don't want it to be a bubble. You get money today and then you want it to keep flowing and keep increasing. And then, of course, we'll look at the importance of diverse storytelling and representation in shaping a globally appealing entertainment landscape. Now, so in terms of, it's broad. We have a limited time, so I'll just try to narrow down on the question so that we have a lot of takeaways at the end of this. Now, it's fondly said, correct me if I'm wrong, that in Africa, people like to work in isolation. I can do 7 things. But in more developed economies, which I know all of you have worked, schooled in, and you interact with on a daily, people specialize. And so because of that, they're able to come together and form formidable brands, formidable forces, and that works for them. But in Africa, we don't yet see a lot of that happening. Why is that the case? And who should bail the cat? Where do we start from? I think I'll start with Bizzle.
Thank you. That's actually a good question. And for me, I would say, I say this a lot of times to a lot of people in Nigeria and in Africa in general. The reason why that happens is because you see everybody wants to be the man. Everybody wants to be celebrated at, now this guy do that thing. Even though you see when people are in a team or in a company and everybody has worked on a project, but one guy, maybe because he's the team lead, will say, I created this event, but doesn't say my team and I. And a lot of people that know me know every time I speak about myself and my partners. We've done this. I would never say I did this because I have partners. So without them, I won't be able to do anything. We all take from each other's strengths. It shouldn't always be a thing about myself. It should be a thing about everybody. That's why even for me, I've always been big on partnerships. Like immediately I stopped working for Maven, my first company was The Plug, and it was a partnership with Asa Sika. It's always been a thing of working with people to achieve goals. The reason why a lot of people don't go far a lot in this space is because, like you said, everybody wants to be the one doing everything. You're in charge of it. You don't want to hire a CFO. You don't want to hire a CTO. You want to be the one doing everything. And then you just want to take all the glory for yourself. So that's part of the reasons why I feel like that happens.
All right, thank you. There's a round of applause for him. I'll come to Mr. Yinka. Still on the same question, but I would want you to give us not 10-point agenda. We all know how that went. But maybe 2-3 points. Okay, we can do this to purge the mindset of not wanting to be I'm the man. And then so we get to that point that Bizzle is talking about.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, and thanks for picking it up from the way you did. First of all, there's nothing wrong with being the man. That's something you need to understand as well. But there's everything wrong in trying to take all the credit, right? And you also have to understand the kind of country, the kind of continent we live in. There are fundamental reasons why we behave the way we behave. If you provide your own power, you provide your own water, if you provide your own security, it's just normal that every other thing flows in that direction. I don't know if you've ever been to the hydropower station or the one in Egbe and all of that. Those things are just humongous generators. That's what it is. But we have now made a big deal about building smaller ones in our houses, and that's the Abetapas, my neighbor, and we're not really doing well, but we've got those small generators that provides power for us while it doesn't for elder people. So if you look at that mentality, you're already thinking and seeing why, the breakdown in systems, in institutions, and so on. So for me, I'd say it's really not a bad idea. And even talking about these climbs you talk about, there are specialists. So you need to understand that there are specialists and there are generalists. And when you think about the stage of your business or the organization, sometimes you need the generalists, not the specialists. So if you go to people that score music in Hollywood and all of that, there are people who that's all they do. They could make music for Afrobeat, for hip hop, for other things, but what they do is that. So yes, let's take that out. What is essential for us in terms of 2-point agenda, because I was going to give you like 25, is we need to ensure our institutions get built up. There are a lot of people that probably don't have a business with entrepreneurship. There are a lot of people who don't have a business with trying to run and lead other people. And it's not a bad thing. Perhaps you're very much more a specialist. It takes a lot to have 50, 100, 200 people on your neck every month. Yeah. Because once you don't pay them, or once you don't get things running, there are people depending on them. And it takes a lot to do that. So with stronger institutions, right, we have places that can consume a lot of us, right? And the mentality of when you start a business, you're a boss of yourself. No, it's the other way around. The moment you start a business, you work for everybody. Yeah. You don't have time. You don't have break time, nothing. So I think we should be thinking more about creating systems and structures that work. And those are the things that we're largely lacking. Once we do that, creating contracts between two people becomes easier. Bizzle is going to get me all the artists, going to get me all the management sort of. Foy is going to get me XYZ. I am building this. We will be doing top-level agreements. I won't be chasing anybody, and nobody's chasing me. And you're not afraid I'm going to run away. Because there are systems and structures that help those things build. But a lack of that in Nigeria and Africa largely is one of the biggest problems we have.
All right, thank you very much. So, systems and structures. Of course, I'm coming to you with systems and structures. So, how do we start? Please, a round of applause for Mr. Obebe. How do we now start? And it's good this question landed on you, because one of the things you do, you are projecting certain kind of artists, music artists, that in that space, they would normally not be reckoned with. And you're doing so well in that area. I told you I've been following your work more than you think. So how do you start building those systems? Because for you to have gotten to the level that you've gotten with those artists, then you should know something about building systems. So help us out.
Thank you. I think the first thing is self-awareness. I'm not the best at building systems, but I'm great at marketing. I'm great at selling. So I found people who could build systems.
Fantastic.
I have people who just like the boring jobs. The boring, like
behind the scenes.
But boring. I have people who even question my creativity.
Fantastic.
How dare you? But I submit to it. So that's the first thing. You need people that are for you but are not like you. They got your back but they're not like you. That's the first thing. The second thing I've also learned in building systems is accountability. So for example, I'll give an example. The future of making money in the gospel. So I have one business that does gospel music.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay for tickets.
Nah.
So how can I build a system that is sustainable? I cracked it. I won't share it, of course.
No, we don't expect you to share. That has to be a master class.
No, it's
that
not.
people pay
It's
for.
my secret. But I learned that in the UK.
That's part of our problem.
Yeah.
That's one of our problems. He doesn't want to do master class.
But I learned that in the UK, for example, in the UK, Christian church conference, they pay.
They are paid for. Yeah, you're correct.
They pay for church conference.
Yeah.
So you also have to know what systems work in what in what geographic
What climate?
location. So, for example, we won't do heavily paid concerts in Nigeria for Great Man or TY, but we'll find a way to fund it. But when we get to the UK or the US,
People pay for it.
so you understand that systems also must work in environment. That's it. Thank you.
Maybe if you clap more, you'll do the master class. All right, so we're talking about digital platforms and how they've promoted African sound, Afrobeat, and all of that. We see, how you could just walk into I don't want to say club this time, barbershop, somewhere in Atlanta, and you'd hear Davido's jam playing, and it's a normal thing, which wasn't the way it was. Shout out to the Gen Zs, when people were carrying waxes around, or just keep nodding your head like you know what I'm talking about. Waxes to cassettes, those ones I used to cut and we used to do surgery on them, and then to the CD players and what have you. Now, so with the digital platforms, how has the rise of these platforms influenced how we nurture our talents? Yeah? And promoting it across Africa. Would we say, of course, I know the money is more now. It's easier to track the money. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But what more needs to be done in this regard in terms of nurturing talents and how the digital platforms affect them?
Okay, thank you for that. Lately, a lot of people have been having the same. A lot of people have been having the same conversation. Yeah, a lot of people have been having the same conversations globally. That what? Yeah, a lot of people have been having these conversations globally, saying this streaming platforms XYZ, is it doing good or bad for the creatives? And I'll say both ways. Yes, your music is able to connect globally. You don't have to do like back in the day when we dropped music and you have to go abroad to promote it. But also, it's killing the game. And I'll tell you why. There's a new guy out now. He has a song called Awolowo. Yeah? His music blew up so quick. Like in less than 2 weeks, he had 1 million streams on Spotify. UK labels were reaching out to me, were trying to sign this guy, blah, blah, blah. He got a deal. Now, he got a big bag for the deal. People like that guy hasn't gone through proper artist development. So now he's gotten a big bag. First of all, he's going to get confused. And we've seen it happen where a lot of guys, where they've given them huge advances, millions of dollars, and they dropped 2 singles, nothing. They dropped 3 singles, nothing. Because guess what? They've got comfortable. Back
And it's
in the
not
day,
village people.
It's not village people. It's just them getting comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, it gets to a point where they feel like, yeah, I had a big global song. I don't want to go and do 50 capacity show in London. I need to do O2 from one song. Because in your mind, you feel like all your followers love all your songs. They probably just love that one song.
That one.
They don't love the rest of it. And then these guys say, oh, they'll book you for a festival. And then they put you as an opening slot on the festival. And you're like, no, I don't want to. I can't do 2 o'clock slot. Yeah. See how big my song is. And can they put Buju on that slot? And then, people will laugh at me. But you forget that Buju has built, we all saw Buju's elevation. Yeah. He didn't just get a big song and just go there. Same as Ruga. They built, same as Rema. Rema's first song, maybe blew up, but still, he still did, with Maven, they still did that development. With Ira, they did that development. You could see the progress. A lot of these new guys, it's like there's no development. Yeah. You get one big song, boom, and you think, oh, I want to start collecting 50 million, 70 million from one song. And then there's no development for you. You become lazy. You're not trying to make more hits. You're not trying to go and build a fan base. You're not trying to build a community of people that follow your music. Just like he said, build community and see what they like, what they want.
Yeah.
Eddie, you're supposed to be on this panel. So yeah, like build a community, get to know what your people want, feed them the right type of music, communicate with your people. A lot of people would realize back in the day, Mr. Easy and Malik Berry, they built a career off, building communities, seeing where their music was being streamed, and connecting to the local communities. Mr. Easy used to do something 69 with Easy. Every city he will go, 69 fans, just go.
Just pull
and then
them
he grew
together.
to doing 100. He grew to doing 150. But now nobody wants to do small.
Okay, so
very-
now you've identified the problem. Before you pass the mic, please. Let's just give it up for Mr. Eddie Madaki. All right, so now you've identified the problem. I would want you to start with the solution and then we'll come to the other panelists. Yeah? So what do they do? Go to an academy or go through, how do you
I
crack
think
that?
for me, it's like, to be honest, it's very difficult for you to get an artist that's got a global song to now go back to an academy to start building.
And the platforms are not going anywhere.
Exactly.
So what do we do?
So, I'll say for them is, you forget your big song. You still need to, climb the ladder or the stairs up. Don't just say because I have a global song, I'm not going to try and do smaller venues. Or because I have a global song, I'm going to ask for 1 million. Still take those baby steps, no matter how big your record is. You remember, you have to get to that place where you want to be. So if you keep thinking because of the global song and the global success you've had off that one single, you can do what the likes of Burna and David are doing, you're going to fail. Because guess what? It's not going to sustain you. You'll come down crashing quick.
Okay, Dr. Foy, please a round of applause for Bizzle, please.
So I don't think any artist in this place would have one big song and not have sense. I don't think so. But I'll say this, Bizzle, just to add to your point. The music industry this year has had a downtime. A major big hit. You can even argue that when people's Spotify rap comes out in December, top artist in Nigeria will be Dunsi. We'll see now. We'll see. We'll be Dunsi. And if you hear Dunsi's music, it's not 2 years work, it's 20 years work.
Don't worry, it was my music director.
Okay, I don't even know. I didn't know. You get the point. We're going back to the place of quality. Like I said earlier, the evolution of music has capped. Streaming is the highest. We're now going back to the beginning, which is quality. So you have to be quality conscious. That's number one. Number two, I'll try and say this.
Sorry, so on the quality part,
Yes.
how do you crack? Because see, I just left somewhere to come here and they were complaining about somebody. It's not creative.
Yeah.
And I had to jump in because everybody was asking me, so what do you think they should do about it? And I said, if this guy doesn't know that he has a problem,
Okay, so
he's not going to be looking to solve it.
Quality,
So how?
on the quality part, I'm very careful. So I'm very careful to advise. I want to say is to advise people publicly because everybody has their path. But for those who I've worked with, who heard Heaven Has Come, T.Y. Bello? Who heard that album? Who heard We Are Fire, T.Y. Bello?
Yeah.
You heard the album.
Yeah.
We recorded that album in 9 months. We'll start one song. It'll take us 8 months, 7 months, 9 months. My point is that it takes time. Quality takes time. The problem is that most people hate feedback. I don't know why, but everybody just my fly, my soap, my zim,
My steez and composure,
Yes,
please.
and so
Don't mess with
my
it.
demure. So, but if you work in my circle, my brother, we boss at demure. I remember I held back one album for 2 years for Great Man. I held back an album for 2 years for Great Man. 2 years. And it's dope. So that's number one. Number two is that, and I'll be very quick, a definition is a handle people use to understand you, but it's not who you are. I'll say it again. If I want you to know who I am, I'll give you what? A definition.
Yeah.
But that's not the fullness of me. I can say in some places I'm a doctor. I've gone to meetings and say, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
And they say, nice one. And that's all in that arena.
Space.
That's the only interaction they have
you
with
have with
me.
them.
As a what? As a doctor. And I say, here, I'm a music executive. My point is, don't allow what is happening now define you. Don't allow what is happening now define you. Afro gospel, Afro beats, log drums. No. That era might pass next year. Go back to that creativity you had, your vibe, your energy. Make sure you don't allow trends define you. They're
fleeting.
Oh, and it's fast. So make sure you go back to who you are. Make sure your definition is not what they're giving you, it's who you really are. Thank you.
All right, before we come to Mr. Yinka, since Eddie just joined us, still picking up on that aspect of the conversation. Go back to who you are. Don't let what is happening around define you. Now, I used to be a major hip-hop head back in the days. So I listen to a lot. There are some artists that if I call, you'll be like, is that an artist name or the title of a song or an album? Like deep hip-hop like Killer Priests, Talib Kweli, and the likes. Now, there used to be a saying amongst those hip-hop heads, they even said in their music at the time, that most times, more often than not, and we did a test to it back then, not now, that an artist's best album is the first album. And you can start counting it. Illmatic, Nas, sorry Gen Zs, I've gone to another level because I know that they can relate. They were nodding their heads. If they didn't, I would have pulled back. Illmatic was 5 mics. Reasonable Doubt was 5 mics. Ready to Die was 5 mics. You can Google them. That's what you have Google for. Now, back to what he said. How do you now make that happen? In a microwave generation, where you can just pull out food from the freezer and in 5 minutes it's ready to eat. You don't have to wait for it for hours to thaw. How do you screw that into the heads of creatives? How?
Interestingly, it's great to be in fantastic companies. One of the biggest A&Rs on the continent. Dr. Foy, an incredible creative that has worked the best of the best. Yinka is building amazing musical vehicles. But I'm a little bit conflicted because I wear 2 hats. I'm more from the communications and promotion standpoint. And like you, I'm a purist. So when it comes to music, when it comes to hip hop, I love what I love. But we live in evolving times.
Yeah.
Right? So I will give a few. It's very important what you have said for. You have to stay true to yourself, maintain your identity. You don't be swayed. But at the end of the day, we all know massive investment goes into producing these properties. Everybody expects their returns. So I want to cite maybe a couple of examples. 50 Cent, for instance, when he started out, it was music and everything else.
Yeah.
Today, we know him as an incredible, astute businessman that has segued into carbonated beverages, into film, and so on and so forth. But he's still touring and doing music.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody else that is quite consistent, J. Cole as well. So he has a lot of popular songs, but he still has authentic songs.
Yeah.
What I would speak to is that in an era where grime has had a season, hip-hop has gone up and down, a little bit of that 90s R&B is coming back,
Yeah.
Afrobeat is at the top, right? Those are investable properties that, the audience is looking to consume, labels are looking to invest in and turn a profit, right? What we usually say is that that's what singles are for, right? Put out the popular music, put something that will resonate and make your mark in the space. It's a point of entry to introduce yourself, and then you now have that wherewithal and free reign to now share your true self, your core self, which is through the rest of your portfolio, your catalog. In marketing, there's something we call the hook. You cannot capture the attention of your audience without the right hook.
Sure.
So you need something relatable, you need something that connects. And with that introduction, you now get to introduce people to the real you, where you can have a balanced portfolio, different styles, different ways of expression. So I think it's tricky, but that balance is necessary. At the end of the day, it's show business. You can't forget the business in the show, really. So, yeah.
All right, give it up for Eddie on that. Now, I want to put you on the spot, Mr. Yinka. You've brought out the hook. People are feeling it. You now introduce them to your real self. They do not like it. The thing plummets. How do you tell that kind of person to stay true to himself? What would you? And then again, let's put that people like Bizzle and Foy are breathing down the artist's neck. Money has entered. We need, like Eddie said, we need return on investment. How do you balance that?
Okay, I think it's not really difficult to do that. First of all, I'd like to mention that you keep asking these people to go on Google. You keep reminding them of their age and all of these things, I think we need to stop.
You had to go there.
Yes, we need to
That's
stop.
why you clap. That's where the applause comes.
That's why you should clap now. He's
Yeah,
giving me
because-
claps.
Because they have come at a generation that is extremely most beneficial experience. You know, for us millennials, it's chaotic and several things happen at the same time. And but you know, these guys have to find their foot. When you compare us to the baby boomers, it's easy to see that the millennials are some of the most disadvantaged because all through all these years, there are just very few of them who are able to build anything, own anything. And what do you say about the Gen Zs that we're talking about? So we need to just prop them up, you know. But I'd stay on what I started with. I started with systems. I don't think we have done enough to allow people to make some of these choices you're asking them to make. That's a fact. You said music has peaked, you know, with streaming. How much of performance avenues have we created? And that's one of the reasons why I was very keen about the DG of NCAC to come here. You know, a lot of conversations go on Twitter and people just talk and they're not told enough what is right. Otherwise, it's, I mean, you're not setting them up for success at the end of the day. So the question is this, because this person is under pressure, I'm not a music exec, and I'm not even trying to build a music system venues because I'm a music exec. I'm, first of all, a music person, like all my life, first of all. But what gave us the courage to do that is because of our systems background. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be the most famous artist that will end up, people are telling Burna Boy should go and build a venue, Rema should go and build a venue. They are two different things entirely. Two different, you cannot, those are two different things. The venues are systems, business. Where are the artists? Where is the performance? What are the days? How do you turn over? Think about depreciation. How long do your equipment last? When do you get that money out? Simple, that's what it is. And it's not about how nice you look on the stage and all of that. But the question about it is that, how do you keep these guys running? And I feel like we need to make life easier for younger people and make life easier also for ourselves, right? And because if you look at Apple top 10, Spotify top 10, how many people can make it there ever? Ever. How many people can be Wizkid? The only reason why you see the Wizkids, the videos here, thanks to the internet, they got a chance to another shelf life. I mean, you guys would agree to that. The guys that had the shelf life before them, the Debanj, the P-Square, and the rest of them. If not for the internet, these guys will not have that next shelf life, right? So the question is this. Performance has always been a way for people to make money at almost every level of your craft. And that has to come back. And when we talk about, oh, people don't want to buy tickets, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, the question that we have been asked has been, are you sure this is going to work? Because how do you do this? How do you do that? People, no, you have to culture people. And you have to create your financial model in such a way that you can be sustained. So some of the things we need to keep teaching people is the concept of sustenance, first of all. Don't worry, I know you're about to cut me. I will finish in 30 seconds. But the concept of sustenance. So the question is this. How do we make sure anybody that makes music in Abuja, how do we ensure across all levels they make money? Why are you pressuring them on top 10 Apple? Yes, that was why they were signed. They shouldn't even have been signed in the first place, right? Why are you pressuring them based on that? Now, when an artist reaches a list, where does it go from there? Last year, the 50 Cent you're talking about, at least I remember he performed in over 10 places in America.
Yeah.
50 Cent. A lot of people don't even know who that is really, like real time. So performance is one of the ways, right? And community, like you mentioned about Mr. Easy and the rest, to continue to subsist, to continue to exist. And that structure must be built. Otherwise, you're joking and you're not going to make the most of this resource. You need to turn this thing into a factory. And that is what we have to do across different states, across different local governments. That's what we need to do. And for the young people that are here as well, That's what they need to learn, to tap into. Because for now, you haven't created much for them.
Yeah. All right.
One second, let me just jump in real quick.
Yeah, please.
I like what he said, and for a lot of young artists, I feel like the Afrobeat artists especially, they need to follow the same template as the gospel artists. The gospel artists, they're in different churches every Sunday performing,
grinding it back to back.
You know the thing about, for me, it's like a lot of the Afrobeat artists now, it's like, I don't think it's the labels pressuring them for the top 10. It's these guys pressuring themselves. You have an artist. I have an artist that I was speaking to 2 days ago in Lagos. He just dropped a project last month. He said to me, Baba, I want to drop new single, man. My song no enter top 100. You dropped your project a month ago. You have not even promoted. You've only been in Lagos. You didn't even bother to say, let me even take bus to Ibadan. Let me even go and promote in Ibadan. Yeah. Even Ibadan is far, Ogun State. Just go to Songo, promote there, and see if people will like your music. No, but you're not patient because you didn't enter top 100. Because you've seen one guy enter top 100, you want to go to, you want to try and drop another single. So I feel like a lot of times too is these people that are pressuring themselves to want to be there and not realizing that I need to still. It takes, see Americans now, they will drop album and they will market it for a whole year.
A long time.
Before they drop a new one. So it's like people need to stop pressuring themselves and try to keep pushing till when you see that, okay, I've pushed the life out of this thing, there's no more life in it, then I can move on.
All right. Round of applause for him on that. And so the generality of what they're saying is process. There has to be process. Because he mentioned an artist. When I said the guy used to be my music director, I was shocked. Someone did a throwback of one of the videos back then when he was, a bass guitarist. And I saw a comment on that. A comment section, if you are bored, that's one of the most interesting places to go to. And someone said, is that not so person on the bass guitar? So I was asking myself, do you guys think this guy just appeared overnight? If he appeared overnight, it's going to be a shooting star and he will just fade out. Now, our time is really fast spent, so I'll just jump. I'll start with Eddie on this one. Now, the industry is growing. Some say saturated, but I don't even think so. Because there are different untapped areas. So what are some of those untapped areas? How can people hone their skills in those areas? And I think I'll give everybody 30 seconds each. Okay, I'll give you a minute. You didn't come in at the beginning. Then 30 seconds for the rest of the panelists. Yeah.
So I understand the sentiment when people think the business is saturated or the space is saturated. And that's because from a emotional and quote-unquote creative self-serving angle, everybody wants to be the talent. You want to be the A player, the breakout artist and all that, right? There are multiple sub-channels in the value chain of entertainment and music, right? There are multiple routes to get to where you want to get to. Classic case, Young John, right? Most of us knew him for the longest time as this incredible, keyboardist, producer. I never for a second knew that he could do music, just before he got signed. Chocolate City, he literally sold out this day dome like about a week ago. Yeah. Incredible audience, sold out, high energy. And that really was his path to success. Oftentimes we have multiple inherent talents that we don't let see give oxygen because we're obsessed with what the final destination looks like. Sometimes your success will come through the multiple steps that gets you to that point. So look to diversify, whether it's sound engineering, whether it's writing as well, whether it's exploring other digital channels. Because of the limited time that we have, I want to talk about maybe Tobe Wigwe and another artist. He's of Palestinian descent, Anis, right? So Anis I started following 2019 before lockdown. He had one song, Sun and Moon, and he would perform that song literally every day on Instagram, different spaces, and then he will now migrate from digital and go to parks and fields and performing on the streets. He's one of the biggest independent artists today as well. Tobe Wigwe started from doing live music in very, very small, intimate spaces, but it was more of a performance art type thing. He had fashion infused in it, he had choreography infused in it, and now, he's headlining and stuff with LV and all these big brands. So I think it's high time we desensitize ourselves to define our objective, which is being this A-list star, and really enjoy the process and identify multiple channels where you can shine within that value chain. Because that's where you might feel meet your door openers and destiny helpers, as they say. So explore, other sub-channels within the industry.
Explore and enjoy the process. Please, a round of applause for him. Let's go to Yinka. Yeah, still talking about other untapped areas of the African entertainment industry, how people can hone their skills in those areas.
Okay, so 30 minutes is too short to discuss this, but we've been talking so much about music. There's so much going on in the business that I run right now, content, television, a lot of young people that work there. Like he said, there are a lot of things you can do in the entertainment business, and it takes a lot for you to be that arrowhead guy, to be that first guy. And even when you're that first guy, your shelf life is limited.
Yeah.
Right? So you really want to start thinking of what kind of skills, are you a lawyer? Do you want to cross into entertainment as a lawyer? Are you a doctor? Do you want to start advising on movies and, setting up a medical system, for sets and locations? Are you into security? Do you want to, So there are so many things. What happens in art and creative is that we always mirror the world. We always mirror the society, and then society comes back mirroring us. Yeah. So everything that exists in that life completely exists here. Quick data. Nigeria right now, the creative economy is just about 1.2% that will contribute to the GDP. And it will shock you to know that even the biggest countries in the world, right, who contribute the most, you all know the guys, Americans, it's just about 3 point something to 4 point something percent. It's just that their own 3 point something percent is 1.1 trillion, right? Ours is 5.6 billion, thereabout. Now, I'll just close with this quickly. Whenever you hear the word GDP, right, the next level you should start asking is, what is the GDP per capita? Whenever you hear about GDP per capita, and I'm really speaking to the young people here, what it means is that we have divided the entire value of everything you're doing in your country by the amount of us that live in that country. Yeah. So the worth of each of us now is no more than $2,000. So the question is, what is the value that I'm putting out there? Quickly make that comparison with countries like Israel, where the GDP per capita is 50,000, although there are fewer people. Yeah. So the question is, if things work in Nigeria and we become this amazing people that we say we are, you can imagine how rich we will become. So the final point is that if we as Nigeria eventually go up from 1.2% up, right, how much will that be? The federal ministry wants to get us to 100 billion in 2030, right? You need to check out some of these things. And the question is, how do you get there? What do you contribute? If you wait and say, oh, the government is going to build that thing for me, it is not going to happen. So even if you can't build it right now, create value wherever you work. Or speak to your mommies and your daddies, right? Whoever it is that's got the money, whoever it is that's got the system that can expedite things, right? Yeah. Don't stay on the internet and just continue regurgitating the same conversations. No, it's your life. You're going to grow old very soon. 10 years is not a lot. Yeah. I didn't realize 10 years was this fast. I was just about 30 10 years ago or more. So what I'd say at the end of the day is just that system. Yeah. Contribute to that system personally. You're not too young to contribute to that system. Even at 20, at 18, you could have the right answer, and you can keep asking. You could have blocked Obi Asika today and tell him you have something to present to him. That's how some of the world changers have gone through. Yeah. You have us here now, you could have said, listen, Bizzle, this is what I'm thinking, that's what I'm thinking. This thing has nothing to do with age. So stop thinking you're helpless, you're not. Just get out there, create the value in whatever you can. Then you can start translating, like he said about young John.
Thank you very much. Dr. Foy, our time is really, really out. Yeah.
Who knows Tola Ali, Tola, the cap? Tolani, the hat. She's a friend of mine. She said, she said to me about a month ago that before she started taking pictures for her boss, the African AFB, they used to tell her to like step back. But right now, because she called me for Elevate Africa, right now she had about 3-4 jobs in the social development space.
Wow.
For taking pictures for
Development organizations.
and leaders. Here's my point, young guys. The truth, I'll be sincere with you. You are the guy. Why? Guess what? Most of us here, without you, I'm learning AI for my 19 years old boy. I'm using Midjourney, I'm using Free Pick. My team is between 17 and 25. My whole team. So you're the guy. Now start understanding how you can make the older people work with you. I'm in my mid-30s. What do you say? No, it's a lie. It's a lie. I'm in my mid-30s. Oh. Forget why I be at mid-30s. I'm not, Elijah is 78. But here's my point, guys. The problem, I'm saying to everybody here, the problem is that when a 55 years old person comes to you, if you don't have attitude, character, everything, they will go away. They need you. You know AI. You know scripting. You know how to create. Listen, I'm working with 1.org, all these like corporates. Everybody's saying they want marketing to be now entertainment because they want to catch eyeballs, the hook, as he will say. But if you can't have character, composure, they'll come and meet Uncle Eddie that can stay in a meeting for 6 hours.
Why do you call him uncle?
Eddie's my uncle's, you don't know your grandfather. Yeah. So make sure you have character. You have skill, but add character, add patience, add humility. Because that is what those who can pay for incredible services need. But let me say it, you are the what? You are the guys.
Bizzle, just round off. You know when you pray, at the end, when they now clap and say, then one person will round off. So you round off.
It's like I'll call them brothers because I've known them for long. But yeah, they've all said what you need to know. But like for it ended it, you need to be that guy. You need to be that person. You need to always have your thing to sell. I was watching something the other day where a guy saw the CEO of Netflix coming out from a restaurant with his wife, and he sold an idea to him quick. And the man listened, and then his wife winked that, continue, like say the idea quick. And he saw the idea, and the man was interested, and the man gave him his email address, send it. Always be ready. Don't, I meet a lot of people, a lot of young people at times, and you speak to them and you ask them, what's your plan? And they don't have a plan. They don't know what they want to do. It's crazy even when so many people say, oh, if they give me 100,000 today, I'll do this. And then I ask you, say how you're going to spend that 100,000. A lot of them don't know. But they just know that if you give me 100,000, I'll make magic happen. But you always have to know what you always have a plan. It's like the world is changing. Like we saw, if you read a lot of global reports, you see a lot of like luxury brands. The people aren't really buying luxury brands anymore. A lot of young people don't care about luxury brands anymore. It's really just about buying what they like. So now, what are the luxury brands doing? Louis Vuitton, they've created Louis Vuitton Cafe where you can come and eat, and they'll put Louis Vuitton on your coffee. Prada has created Prada Cafe where they do Prada on your pasta. It's really more now about experience. And now they're working with a lot of younger people to help them be their marketing. They don't have to spend big money on marketing because you know why? If a young boy snaps Louis Vuitton, the next person will snap that Louis Vuitton. They've saved money on marketing. So, like he said, you are the guy, you are the one everybody needs, you're the future. Stop holding back and always be ready and at alert.
I think it's a good place to appreciate all of our panelists from Eddie, Mr. Yinka, Dr. Foy. As I'm calling their names, you'll be clapping now. Then the applause will be getting louder. And then to Bizzle. They've done a fantastic job. I wish we had more time, but I'm sure you've gotten a lot from what they said, honing your skill, process, being true to yourself, and being ready every time. Thank you very much, TMCon, for this opportunity.
One thing connects us all. It's in the originality of the clothes we wear, the curve of a desk, the distinct colors of our favorite apps that cause us to feel, to act, and believe. It's in how we think and how we
All
see
right.
the world.
Can we thank you,
Design.
media team? I saw that we had spilled in,
Every stroke.
really eating beyond our time. That was why I didn't want to pass the mic for questions. But we have 5 minutes. 2 questions, real quick, please. Can someone get the mic to the gentleman in front? The gentleman in front here with the turban. Please, and make sure your questions are centered on the conversation we just had, please.
All right. So my name is Ward Abba. I work with spaces that create opportunities for artists here in Abuja to share their music to small crowds. But one of the things we also learned of recent is when we did back-end data for some of these artists, you find out, oh, they are popping in this place, but then there's no music body in that community. As much as their listeners are there, for you to carry them over there and have like small interaction with these spaces. So first question is more about how can we get finances? Because somebody talked about ensuring that you have your money coming in. Because people are not really buying tickets, that's true. You end up doing giveaway for 10, 15 tickets, and those ticket money can't even pay for sound, right? So we have that. So that's like my first question. How can you make money to continuously carry the music and the artist to the people where people actually listen to his songs?
Okay.
So the second question is more about how do we get the culture of music production from start to finish? Because right now we have a lot of artists putting out songs and then they don't have radio versions. So you have to now go and be muting the F words and all the cuss words. But then in other places, prior, when we were coming up, music had radio versions, had TV versions, had all these things. And so music was more about the complete process. When you finish, they give you a performance track, they give you all this. But these things are now, like there's so much gap. It's like the knowledge of the business has stopped.
Okay,
So, yeah.
Bizzle will attend to that question.
Okay, I'll start from the second question to the first. For me, the radio version, all those things, goes back to what I was saying of how, like, there's no proper development anymore. Because as a real artist, you should know that when you're done mixing and mastering your song, you should have performance version, radio version, a cappella singles version to put out. So nobody has to teach you that. That is the basic of music. If you're a music artist and you're reading and understanding what you're doing, the problem is a lot of people are making music because they feel like this is my way to blow. This is my way out of getting where I want to be. But they're not, you can make music, but you still have to understand the business of music. That's why there's something called music business. Everybody wants to do music, but they don't want to understand the music business. You need to have good knowledge of music business so that you're not going into bad deals and you're understanding what you're doing. And then on the first one about funding to do what you want to do, most times I'll say to you is like you have to build small. It takes a while. It's a long journey. There's something called Sofa Sounds. When they started, nobody was interested in paying, but now people pay to come and see people. You also have to find a way, like I said, maybe at first, find people who their music is more commercial, bring them in first so that people are willing to pay to see them. You are making more money for yourself. And then it gets to a point where people see that, okay, if I come to this place, it's good vibes, it's good music. Have a negotiation with the bar or wherever you're working with. Get a percentage from the drinks and food they sell. You're using that money to fund what you're doing. And as time goes, it becomes bigger and bigger. And then brands come to partner with you. And that way you're able to make money to keep for yourself as the producers and also money to pay the artists for coming. Most times, a lot of people, when you look at back end, you can see top listening countries, Japan. Trust me, it's probably like 5 people, but they love listening to your music. And it's not, when you see 5,000 plays in Japan, doesn't necessarily mean it's 5,000 people. It can be 10 people who just enjoy listening to your music and they listen to you over time. Or it's a dance group that every dance class, they play the music. So sometimes those things are a bit tricky. So I would say to you, focus on the closer ones to you. If you see Lagos, Port Harcourt, focus on those places first before you now start thinking of expanding into other places.
So just to add, please, Guy, man to man, music is hard. No, see, So I spent 3 years in MTV, 3 years. For every one whiskey, there were 100 people that were good. Be real now. It's not easy. So I'm being real with you. There's a guy that I was thinking now, I'm like, God forgive me. I chopped his money myself. That was like 10 years ago. Almost, the guy spent money 10 years ago, at least 40 million. He didn't blow past Lucky Phase 1.
Try.
I'm being real with you. So I'm just leveling up, honestly. There are a few things I think you should also consider. People start thinking like a creator, not only a musician. You know, there's a guy, I won't say his name, who now does other things besides music. Like he has, he's not even Betty. So I won't say yeah. But, so, I'm just saying that. Make sure, even because the people that are talented, like, am I lying? No, great, like, I thought they would begin at Buju. It didn't happen for them. You understand? So, we're all young, or you're young and getting old. Learn. Have other income sources. Do you get the point? And as you grow, you might begin to use these skill sets for other things. I just thought to share a very honest thing here. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Yinka wants to chip in on that, and you want to as well. Your question is really evoking a lot of thoughts.
Hello?
Yeah.
So, what I have to say to that, I used to know some guy who does nails in Lagos, and he does eyebrow and all of that for women. And he had this nice track. It was coming up since the Dagreen era, even a bit later than that. And he kept trying to get his music out. I think I even supported in getting people to make music videos for him, 1 or 2 of them. I called everybody, put his music on. But one thing I said to him is that, dude, get that nail business running. Get that eyelash thing running. This guy didn't just get it running. He started making products. He got to a point, there's this thing women do. What's that thing on the eyebrow that you don't have to shave your eyebrow?
Microblading?
Exactly. He started doing it for like 150K, 200K. At a point, he started doing about 10 in a week, right? Now, at a point, he moved abroad to start doing some other thing, then came back. In short, this guy has a life outside his music, right? And he's able to sustain himself. So I wanted to quickly caution you on the how do we raise money. Don't let these tech people deceive you about this raising money anyhow like that, because it's very dangerous to start thinking about that now. What you should be doing is creating a community and supporting each other. 50 people, 100 people. You said something, you said people don't pay for a ticket, won't pay for a ticket. It's a lie. The only reason why they have not been paying is 2 things. Brand sponsorship. And why it is a good thing, I hope there's no brand guy here, but you're a brand guy, sorry. The brand itself has killed the creativity, has killed the economy of creativity, because the brand doesn't care about your music. They care about the TA, target audience you're going to reach. It's about the numbers. It's about cost per contact. So they don't care about you, making your whatever well. That's on one side. On the second side, if I told you the ticket to entering an event is 10,000 naira or 20,000 naira, let's take a poll here. Some of you have spent 20,000 naira on something this week. What is that thing? It's the level of importance. How can your show or whatever you're trying to do be important enough? It's about value. It's about value. Because for me, I really didn't like Abuja, to be honest. Like, I thought it was a dry place because I just come in one day, meeting, go back the second day. But the first time I spent 2 weeks in Abuja, that was when I started thinking about it. And that's why we're starting to build in Abuja. Because trust me, in case you don't know, Abuja is an even more organic and a better space than Lagos. Way, way, way. I could do 6 meetings in Abuja. I can do 1.5 in Lagos in one day. It won't work. So I can leave here now, go see 6 more people, get back to my hotel by 6:30. That's an advantage. So your people are not going to be crying about movement. So you need to sit down and start thinking of community. Even big brands are now thinking about community building, right? People are going to be listening to your music, coming to your performances because they like you. make food available, make drinks available. They pay a percentage of it and all of that. So forget about trying to raise any money anywhere. That thing does not work like that. Those of us that are even trying to raise the money, we are really financial model of over 1 month, 6 months, to see that this thing even breaks even at some point, right? So please do that, and I wish you all the best.
One second, let me just, also you can, like there's something we just started in Lagos where we tell people it's free to get in, but you just pay 10K for a drink. You can do that to them and say, look, 10K gets you a cocktail. Everybody is going to drink something in your event. If you don't want cocktail, you drink water, but you must pay 10K.
You must drink something.
If you have 50 people, 10K, do the maths.
All right.
Okay, so I just want to, piggyback on what all the other panelists have said, because you guys have covered like the building blocks as to where to head. Chief, what's the name again?
Word.
I want to applaud you and say thank you for the service that you offer. I think it's incredible. From my journey, I have been through that space, so I can relate and I know what it takes. So a few low-hanging fruits. It's incredible that you're doing this up-country in Abuja. There's ridiculous talent, North Central, Kaduna, Jos. It's incredible, right? But they all suffer from the same challenge. There are no sustainable platforms to really put themselves out there. Like Yinka, Bizzle, and Foy have said, build the community. And don't think from a monetization standpoint. There's a tribe for everyone, whether it's the genre of music, whether it's the style of performance, cater to that audience. For spaces where you can show up, Abuja is rife with multiple HoReCa establishments. There are lounges, there are hotels, there are bars, and trust me, the biggest currency in the world today is experiences. Everybody is selling the same thing. Clothes, they're selling the same thing. Banks are selling the same financial instruments. It's the experiences that would make you distinctive from your competition. So you want to foster those partnerships, you could come to me. I can refer you to our agency. There are so many people that are asking for these solutions, right? Finally, from the brand's perspective, I'm a brand guy. Yes, brands have killed the creative industry to some point, and that is because the creative industry has shown the proof of concept that you really do build communities and build spaces and build, where disposable income can thrive, right? So first things first, think about natives. When natives started, it's the same template. It was intimate, it was alternative music. They were catering to their audience. As at last year, December, I think Coke Studio evented about $2 million in the year-end concert that was driven by, by natives. And there are multiple platforms. This year, Monkey Shoulder, which is a Scottish-owned brand, invested in a platform called Studio Monkey. Here's the interesting part. We were looking for a music community in Nigeria that we could invest in that platform to amplify the message of the brand. We couldn't find. We had to eventually work with Jazz Hole in Lagos. And that is like, a bunch of 50-year-olds that like old rock music, 60 years old, that like, old rock music, jazz, and so on and so forth. So there is real opportunity to even leverage on these brands, quote unquote, that are taking oxygen, but just come with that equity, build a community so that they see as an investable platform. But how you will start is from the building blocks that all the panelists have shared here today. Leverage on spaces, build your tribe and build a community, and then when you get attention, you can monetize it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's hear it for our panelists again.